All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to episode, I think this is 14.
14.
14, yeah, I'm losing count. Wait till we get to the thousands, Sean. It's going to be wild. But yeah, introducing my co-host, Sean, here.
Hey guys, what's up?
So welcome back for another episode. Today we have a fantastic person here. I think I've known you for about a year now or whatever. Emily, how do you describe yourself, I guess?
Yeah, so I've been in the car scene not too long. Not a lot of people really know me, but got into it, 3-4 years ago. First car that I had was a shitty Ford Focus. It was like a 2001. My dad made me tow it home and then basically tear it apart on my own. So that's kind of how I got into cars, is my dad saying, get into this, you got to fix your own car in order to make it to school, kind of a thing. So that kind of started me off, although I absolutely hated cars at that point because it was a shitbox.
Right, it was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, but it taught me kind of how to get into it. And then I finally purchased a 6-speed S4, which currently still has like 150,000 on it now, but worked on it completely pretty much myself.
That's
I've
the
met
black
a lot
one,
of
right?
cool people. Yep.
Yeah.
Who have helped me out through kind of getting through it. But yeah, first thing, thermostat went like about a month into buying it, which is great. So tore it apart. Didn't really have, I guess, the money being in college and all that stuff to kind of, bring it to a shop that would tear it apart and help me out with it. So did it all myself, decided to put coils on, and decided that was a terrible idea. So in the middle of winter, kind of did that. So I have some kind of interesting stories as far as like me working on my car on the side of the road.
You have a lot of
during
those.
the winter, during a tornado. Yeah. So fun stuff.
Yeah, that's like one of the number one things I wanted to talk to you about was just like, because you have a lot of stories when it comes to working on your car.
A lot of stories.
So yeah, we'll definitely get on that. But I think that kind of just, you're just a person having fun in a car community. I know you have this like a group that you started. I think, what was it? I think it's about a year and a half old. Tell me about that.
So I started in 2020. Started kind of in the middle of the winter time, but it's
COVID
called
time,
Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota Girls Modified. So I was on an all-girl swim team in high school. Absolutely loved it because it was a bunch of women that kind of supported each other, got together, and kind of wanted to start that within the automotive industry. So yeah, I've been in automotive. I've worked in sales at Toyota and currently work for Audi, and I've met a few women that are kind of in the industry, but it's still hard to find people that are really passionate about it and who have a group of, I guess, other people like-minded to kind of come together. So that's kind of the behind why I did it. So yeah.
Define passionate. So what does like the ideal person in your group look like?
Yeah. So I have girls that drive S4s, girls that have BMWs. So it's a variety. It's not, one girl in particular, a lot of them. So it's tailored towards younger audience. I know there's car queens, there's other women automotive groups. Mine is tailored towards women kind of getting into it. So younger audience, girls that are maybe in high school, college. So I have one individual that drives a Miata, and she's a little bit younger and kind of got into it from her brother who started working on cars. But yeah, it's interesting because the audience that I have currently are women that, need support because the fact that maybe they just got a car, they don't know a whole lot about it. They got into it from their dad or their brother or whoever, and just trying to help each other kind of, with the projects that you have. That's kind of
like an overall like
started.
support system,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay, because I remember you telling me about that early on when you started, and I was just like, all right, cool, because like it's just. There's just so many different car groups out there, but there's like only like a handful of like female enthusiast groups out there, I feel.
Sure, yeah. And mine is tailored. So, I started it in the middle of winter, met up at like a Cowboy Jack's, and it was snowing outside. That's right. People still came through, though. It was a good turnout. And, a lot of women really like to get together. It was, younger audience. So, people that are like me that work in automotive. So, it was cool to, kind of bring a group together, kind of smaller, talk about our cars, talk about how we got into it and everything. And then there's an individual that I love who showed up to one of my recent events, and she didn't know anything about cars. She thought it was a boat cruise. So she showed up with like flip-flops or Birks on. She's like, I thought we were going on a boat. And she actually ended up going to every single meet now, like past that part. And so like the girls have gotten her into it, which is kind of cool. So yeah, teach her about her own car. Like, hey, let's like diagnose your current car that's having issues. So it's kind of neat, kind of cool. There's another person that drives all the way from Wisconsin just to come to every event that I've had. So it's a lot of like really genuine, dedicated people that are really just there for the community, I think.
Tell us about the events themselves, though. So how often are you hosting these? Where are you hosting? I'm like, what's going on there?
Yeah, so I try to do some during the winter. Did a lights cruise where actually we met up. I know Jake was here like last week, I believe.
Jake Bird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he let us use his shop, and we
Okay.
actually wrapped up our cars in like Christmas wrapping paper. I went to Target
cool.
and like bought a whole bunch of tape, Christmas wrapping paper, and we used his shop to wrap our cars up. And then Valley Fair area was doing the lights cruise type thing, so we actually drove our cars like in the snow, in the slush, like wrapping paper coming off, lights all over the cars, through this like lit up area. Made some cool content with it, and it was super fun. Had a great time. So shout out to Jake. He's a great person, and thanks for letting us use the shop and everything. But yeah, it's just good to have connections, people in automotive that, support each other. And yeah, it's been fun. That was one event. Did another Minnetonka Lake cruise, which was fun. And then try to do, some things during the winter, but although it's hard to get people's cars out, they still come for,
a few people.
Yeah. For the, just getting together kind of aspect.
Yeah, it's good to like dinner or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, my circle kind of limits to just kind of like Sean and Eric and maybe like 2 people during the winter. Because it's like anything that's more like than an hour away during a blizzard, I'm like, no, I'm not interested. Thanks, though. But no, it's crazy how many people we've had on that know each other, though, right? Because like I didn't even know you knew Jake, right? So it's like every time I have a different guest, it's like, oh yeah, I know this person. I'm like, what? No, really? So that's really cool. So that's awesome. So you do a lot of stuff with the group. Did you want to switch topics with anything right away, Sean, or anything in mind?
No, but I was just going to say, anytime that I ever click on anybody from like Minnesota Car Enthusiast Club, and I see like mutual friends, you're always on there. You're always one of the mutual friends. You literally know everybody. Yeah. You connect everybody.
That's what I try to do. So the only other person that has as many as me, like mutual friends, is probably like Ryan Wheeler, Lambo Dad. And I think he had like 400 or 500 mutual friends. I was like, holy shit, dude. Like I talked to 2 people in high school. So it's wild now. It's just kind of where this has come. But you do wild shit with your cars though, because you've told me a few number of stories, but can you, I think my favorite car of yours is probably that Silvia, because it just kind of seems like it's one thing after another. Can you like, before we even get into that, what's your favorite types of cars? Because like obviously you love Audis, you work at Audi, but let's start with that. Like, what are your favorites?
Yeah, huge JDM fan, huge Euro fan. So Euro kind of got me. That's what I started with. I bought the Audi. Then I worked for Toyota, and I started seeing Skylines and Silvias, and the 240 was always my dream car. And just finding the right one was difficult, but I had searched for probably a year or 2 before I found the one that I have currently. And I was looking for specifically one that was right-hand drive because I didn't want a KA. So it's, finding the right one was hard. Also the right price point and everything, making sure it was clean enough. But I got mine from someone that was selling it, and it was just imported, and it was a whole process as far as like Japanese title, go and take it to the DMV, trying to get all that stuff sorted out. But it's stock. It's pretty much stock, other than currently has no exhaust because I had to rip it off, and I'll talk about that story a little later of why. But pretty much stock and super clean, and it's fun. It's an SR, so it's very loud.
Wasn't it a pretty interesting delivery though?
It was, yeah. So they so I had it shipped. At the time I worked for Toyota, and I used their dispatch to ship it from, it was in Michigan. And then they dropped it off on a Saturday right in front of the dealership, and everyone is like running around. I was with a client, and I look out the window, and all of a sudden the car is being dropped off the truck. And the guy that dropped it off didn't know how to drive it, and I just see it like basically come down off the truck and hit the curb, and like, it kind of messed up the front end of it. But it was cool. It was an interesting day, and nobody knew how to drive it, so I had to like, hey, sorry, I gotta go and like take care of something real quick, move the car out of the way, and my GM comes up and he's like, what the hell is going on? So
it's a nice theft deterrent too.
Oh yeah,
because it's manual and left, or was it right-hand drive?
Yeah.
So even if you knew how to drive manual, you'd have to somehow rearrange your brain and be like, oh, I gotta use my left hand to shift.
Yeah, it's such a sleeper quite honestly. I mean, it's a Zenki body style currently. I wanted to do a body swap on it eventually, but yeah, I mean, it looks like, you know, I've had people say, oh, cool Camry, you know, because I mean, it doesn't look like anything special, but then you hear it and you see, oh, it's right-hand drive, and people like look at me while I'm driving, and it's just an interesting experience to go through the McDonald's drive-through backwards. It's cool. It's fun. So
I've done photos like that before. My well, actually, you might know Tyler Falcon or whatever. Like he has that SOAR or whatever, and we did a shoot in Culver's or whatever. We took a SOAR in backwards, and it's a sweet, it's a sweet photo. I love that photo, but they were so angry. Like they're like, "Sir, this is not safe," and they were just like freaking out on us. It was the best thing ever. But no, I love that car. That thing's pretty sweet. I know we raced the S4 and the VW back when I got it.
Yeah,
that was fun. You were showing me some spots around the city, so that was pretty sweet too. But yeah, it seems like you kind of got a very specific niche of cars, and you know them very well.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I've loved Audi forever. When I was looking for my S4, I wanted the supercharged 3-liter. Absolutely love that car. I mean, if I could hold on to it for longer, I would, but I'm probably going to sell it at this point because I do have plans to get something else. And I'm very indecisive when it comes to building a car, so I've changed this build that I'm getting like 3 times. But I'm very excited, so it'll be here in August. And yeah,
so it's freshly ordered?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fully, customize myself, and yeah, you'll see what it is, but I'm probably gonna part ways because I don't need to just keep collecting cars. You know, it's kind of a problem. Yeah. Well, just you know, which one are you devoted to? And I don't need like a whole garage full of cars. So I think I'll part ways with the S4 eventually. But yeah, it's kind of what taught me how to get into cars, I guess, because put a thermostat in it, coilovers, changed out water pump, changed out, my front end grill on my own, exhaust, everything pretty much that's on that car that I've modded out myself. So yeah, it was a fun experience. Just kind of learning and getting to do that and on to the next project. So that's kind of why I got the 240 also, is because I have an S4. I needed a car that was actually a project car that I could work on. So, but yeah, going back to the what happened last summer, I was driving the 240 like down like a side road, like France Avenue, like Edina area. Yeah. So kind of a busy area. All of a sudden I hear like just a clunk, and like my wheel literally falls off the car. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I can push it out of the way. I get out, and I'm wearing like white too. I'm wearing like a white dress, and I'm out here like pushing my 240 in the middle of the street. And people are looking at me like, what the hell is this girl doing? And literally tires like sitting there, like I ripped out the threads on the spacer. Oh no. And so I called a tow truck because I'm like, well, what the hell do I do? Dude's like, well, you can't like put it on the tow truck without the wheel being on the car. So I'm over here kicking the shit out of the wheel, trying to get it off. So, it's like move, jack the car up. Eventually got the wheel back on, just took off the spacer in order to get it onto the truck. Then as they're pulling it up, the exhaust is hitting on the ground because it's so low. And they're like, you're going to have to take that off. So here I am in white, with some friends, like, trying to take it off in the middle of the street. And there's like a whole like police, like, cop car behind me, like, what the hell is going on? Looks at the car, why is the steering wheel over here? What are you doing? Yeah. And it's just people don't see those cars, and they're like, also like, what is this girl doing? Like in her,
it's so confusing. Yeah.
So I mean, if you ever saw that on the side of the road, you'd be like, what is she doing? But took the entire exhaust off. I still haven't put it back on, so it's louder than hell. I've took it to a few car meets this year actually, and yeah, I mean, people just like look at it and they're like, what the heck? So yeah, fun times.
I can't even imagine being the officer pulling up to that. Like, just, not even like an officer that's not even a car guy. Because a lot of cops are car guys. But, like, just being completely clueless. Being like, I didn't even know you can get steering wheels on the right. Why is the chick driving it? It's just, like, looking absolutely filthy.
Yeah, and it's a manual. His mind must have been blown.
And it's a manual. Oh, my God. Dude, he'd be just absolutely losing it. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was, hey, you need to move this car out of the middle of the road. And it's like, well, sir, the wheel's not on, and I have to take the exhaust off to get it onto the truck. And the tow truck driver is actually sitting there, like, looking, just, like, smiling, like, having a good time. Like, oh, no, this is fun. You guys take your time. I'm just, going to chill here. Just literally, I have, he's sitting there in the background as, like, me and friends are, like, taking off the exhaust. And it's like...
Yeah, because you were doing that on France, and there's no shoulder there.
There's
so
no
you're
occupying
in
the middle of France.
A lane of traffic, and you're just working on it like you're in an AutoZone parking lot.
Yeah, exactly. But it's fun stories, fun times.
We know a thing or two about wheels falling off.
I do. I don't think you've had that problem yet.
I fucking hope I don't either, man.
No, that is one of the scariest things to happen. And that happened to you in traffic on a road.
I've had caliper come off my car for not, I kind of should learn my lesson. And it's funny because my mom got me a torque wrench, a really nice one for Christmas. And like, I just never used it. And like, that's like my problem. I can work on cars. I can take them apart. Bodywork stuff, I'm like, I won't do that. But mechanically, like I can do stuff. Dad taught me. I'm good. I just don't torque anything down. So it's like, okay, my caliper bolts are falling out. My, suspension's all falling apart. So yeah, I mean, driving a death trap of a car is just, so much more exhilarating than, having like a new 2023 whatever I could get into, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that reminds me, I should probably make sure my wheels are torqued down. I think it's fine. Who knows dude. So like usually I throw my own summer wheels on, but this time I took it to a shop because like they had my tires or whatever and they were gonna mount them. So I'm like, all right, you guys can put them on too. Don't fuck it up, please. So who knows how torqued those things are?
They probably just hit it with the air tool. It's probably over torqued.
That's what I'm worried about now.
Honestly, I just found this out this year. You're supposed to re-torque them after about 50 miles of driving.
I'm at 500, big dog, so I think we're good.
So we'll maybe double check the torque, make sure that they haven't loosened up. But
Sean, I'm trying to get this fucking car totaled. I want the next thing. But
you want to sell it in one piece. You don't get as much money for having it in two pieces.
No, just go buy it off Copart and part it out. We'll figure it out. But yeah, no, I'm excited for whatever comes next. But okay, so we touched on that. Well, wasn't there one time you had it all jacked up? This is the story that you told me about when I first met you and we were at, what was it, that thing off 13 or whatever, and you showed me like pictures of you working on it and there was like a tornado in the background or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was my oil pan on my S4. Yeah, that was a fun time. So it was leaking, still probably leaking, but yeah, it was tearing my oil pan off and putting a new one in, and then I had to pry back like the air cooler and all this stuff, and it's still not seated properly because the way that Audi designs things is really not easy to work on. Yeah. So was in the middle of doing that, had just put all the oil back in the car, turned it on, and that was like during like tornado sirens. I was in Apple Valley area, so it was like getting pretty bad. I think it was like a few years ago now, but yeah, the sky was green. All of a sudden rain starts coming down. It's like warm, humid, like tornado sirens, and I'm seeing like wind and stuff. The wind was going crazy. So, I mean, all my tools flying everywhere. Right. It's like just downpouring. My 10 mil is who knows where. And my car starts rolling down the hill because I turn it on and it has a hydraulic parking brake. So I'm trying to turn it off or, trying to make sure the car doesn't roll down the hill, but all my oil comes out in the driveway, down the driveway during the storm. Like my car is rolling down the hill. My mom's over here yelling at me like, what the hell are you doing outside? Get in here. And then, we have a really, picky neighbor at the time. And my mom hates when I just order car parts and have exhaust systems and stuff, just like show up at her house and whatnot. I just use her driveway because I don't, apartment I've already gotten yelled at for working on my car in apartment like underground like parking area, so don't do that. But it was a fun time. My car's rolling down the hill and I mean it didn't hit anything, but it's just like once you start working on cars, you're like, wow, I really love cars. But then like once you get into it, like
when you're like
really kind of like why am I doing it? Like I need to pick a different hobby kind of a thing at this point, because it gets tough.
There's like kind of like a honeymoon phase when it comes to any hobby though. Like the first like 20% is like, oh my God, this is so fun. And then you get really into it. You're like, I fucking hate my life. And then you're like, but I love it. And I haven't gotten to that point yet, thankfully.
No, Sean, you haven't done nearly enough work on your own car. No. And maybe that'll happen once you get the new one and you just start modifying everything, kind of like how Emily has with her S4. You're going to learn a lot on that next car, because you just bought a car that's already modified for you. You didn't have to learn anything.
Yeah, it was pretty easy with this one.
So this next car, you're going to learn a lot. And I'm going to make sure that you do all the work yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be a more complicated platform, too. It's not going to be fucking like a Lego set. Because my Volkswagen, total Lego set. Like, you just see everything you need to do in there. It's like, oh, boy. So, I don't know if I want this anymore. I'm just going to give me a fucking Camry, dude. Fuck this, dude. Fuck cars. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Harris.
Do you need a roofer?
I could use a guy.
Well, I'm glad you agree. I saw your roof. You definitely need a roofer. And guess what? I think we know a guy. Do you remember Eric from the podcast like a million episodes ago?
Yeah, of course.
Well, guess what? He is the Twin Cities' finest contractor. All right, he'll get you taken care of because this summer, Minnesota being Minnesota, it's going to throw hail at your roof. It's going to have tornadoes throwing shingles off your roof. You know what? You don't know what's going to end up there. And he's going to get you taken care of because when you Google Solaris Roofing, you're going to see 5 big, beautiful yellow stars, and they're going to be telling you that he does not take no when it comes to perfection. So you're going to reach out to him, either going through Google or you're going to go to solariscos.com. And let me tell you something, Sean. Are you going to reach out to him?
I'm going to reach out to him today.
Well, I'm glad you answered that way because, buddy, you need a new roof. But, okay, so let's see. We touched a little bit on that. I mean, what do you want to talk about? Is there anything that you... I mean, there's so many things that you're kind of involved in.
There's so many things that I could talk about. I mean, yeah,
Did you see the new Ferrari?
I did. The new
SUV?
4-door SUV. Yep. So that's right where within I work and saw it. Quite a few Ferraris that were out during the event, so that was cool.
So
but
it was here in Minnesota?
Rossani, yeah, yep. Mm-hmm. They just did a release event, a few days ago here, and so they did the unveiling of it. You know, showed it off. It's interesting. You know, it's the first Ferrari SUV. So
even though they're not calling it that.
Yeah, yep. So I mean, it was stunning. The lights and everything. It just is tailored towards, I guess, a certain audience. There was someone that pulled up with one of those Lamborghini SUVs too.
The Urus,
so
yeah.
People that like them. But yeah, other people are like, oh, it's an abomination. Just like, you know, Porsche with the Cayenne and everything. So just
People
depends on
are
if you want
such
an
dorks.
SUV or if you want, you know, because when you hear Porsche, I mean, you think of, okay, yeah, I want a Boxer, whatever it is, not like the SUV version.
I don't think of a Boxer though.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I just think of a straight up like, I don't know, like that's the thing. Like about, when you think Ferrari, I just think 458 for whatever reason, just because like that's kind of what we grew up with, right? But there's some people that, like you said, like it's not for them. It's like, well, great, you're not the market. Like I remember this is like when it first released on Facebook or whatever, Motor Trend. And people were like bitching all over social media, like, I would never buy that Ferrari. I'm like, first of all, dickhead, you can't even afford it. Let's start with that. Secondly, great, it's not like they're selling these in super high numbers either. So it's like, it's not for you. Like, not everything has to be about you, right? Like some people, like Joe Rogan always says, like some people don't like yellow cars. Like, I don't get it, but...
Well, having a Ferrari isn't something that you get easily. I mean, you more or less, you know, not everyone can get it. I mean,
they ask
you have to, yeah, or even the events. Like, you have to have a Ferrari in order to be invited to these events. I mean, very exquisite type of people. I mean, that's fine wine and cigars at every one of their events, too. So, yeah, it's a real small-knit, you know, kind of community as far as people that, you know, go to those things. But, yeah, where I'm at is, you know, working for the same automotive industry that owns that Ferrari dealership. So it's kind of interesting to see Ferraris, Porsches, Audis, you know, and, you know, Audi being kind of the lower class option compared to, you know, what's right there. Yeah, basically. But yeah, no, Audi's coming out with some interesting stuff. They're really pushing for EVs right now, so that's very big. So especially in Germany or a lot of Europe now, people are having to get on board with, you know, Teslas and more EV stuff. But yeah, the GT, I'm a fan.
I saw one the other day, yeah.
Yeah, they look
They're
amazing.
sleek.
They're quick. I mean, drive one. They're handle amazingly. More or less the R8's replacement. They're built in the same factory as where those were, and this is the last year for the R8 and the TTRS.
I'm so sad about that.
Yeah,
man.
people that were on the wait list are, you know, getting it, but then after that, no more. So 2023 is the last year that we hear. So yeah, some people aren't super excited about that, but...
Is there still time to put an order in?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Did they do like a final year like send off, like special edition, or what is the special edition called?
Well, they don't. I mean, this is just the last year. They're only doing the Quattro R8. 2023 is the last year for it. But they're pushing towards, you know, the GT now. Just in the last year, that's kind of the push towards, hey, this is the new R8 kind of a thing. So that's really.
It breaks my heart, man. I grew up with the R8.
Yeah, that was another great one.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know until recently because, like, I just never cared for it. But there's, like, the Gen 2 and the Gen 3 look exactly the same. But apparently there's, like, a Gen 3 R8.
What?
Like, I'm confused about that.
There is?
Yeah.
Do you know about that at all?
I mean, the 2020, I think it's 2020 or 2021 or something. And, you know, there's different, like, years packages. But, I mean, it's the same R8 that they've always had. They had a V8 option, and now they're doing the V10 only, and yeah, so There's a lot of changes, especially, RS cars in general right now. Audi is changing a lot of that stuff, and, just who can, how long it's going to take, and, their production and everything. But, yeah, I mean, production in any supercar right now is just difficult. So it's hard to get your hands on. EVs are really, Porsche, too. Their Taycan and, just all manufacturers are kind of on board with electric now at this point. Yeah. So that's where things are headed. So, yeah, I hear that they're maybe condensing some of their inventory as far as, how many cars they have out there as far as gasoline. And people, I guess, will have to get on board as far as EV stuff goes.
God damn it, California. Fucking California did that to all of us. Yeah, but...
So us as car enthusiasts, yeah, it's a little different.
I'm honestly not worried about it, though, because I think this is like kind of like our first podcast episode topic, too. Like, ICE versus hybrid versus electric. And I'm kind of on the train to, like, you're never going to get rid of gas altogether. I think we're going to kind of just fizzle towards, like, hybrid. Maybe we'll see electric, but electric is so expensive, too. Like, right now we're kind of in, like, the golden era for it because it's, like, building. It's kind of like 1968 for muscle cars, right? Like, the golden era. But the thing is like, it's so resource intensive to get those batteries. And it's like, the second any war pops off, dude, we're not going to be able to get lithium, but then also cobalt. Like, we get cobalt from like a lot of like African countries. And it's like, the second any other country steps in on that shit, like, then we're stuck with like regular ass whatever,
that goes the same with like crude oil. Like, we don't get
we got Alaska, though. Like, worst case scenario, fuck it.
That's not going to be enough to supply the entire country.
Dude, Alaska is the size of the entire United States. Or no, like half the United States. Yeah. Dude, that's bigger than like all the European
countries. Yeah, but most
countries.
of Alaska is like protected. Their companies can't just go chopping down the trees. And...
All right. Listen here, partner. We're going to unprotect that shit if we need to. Okay? Fuck you.
Yeah, anything to fuel our jets.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Oh my God. We're gonna turn this into like a climate change podcast real quick. But yeah, so that's kind of like where I'm at. Like, I don't know. Like, you actually work for a dealership though. Like, so do you think it's gonna be like hybrid, or do you think it's gonna be full electric in 10 years?
Full electric.
Well, you think so?
Yeah, that's what all the world leaders are pushing for, the climate change. What is it? 2035? Everything needs to go electric.
Fucking Greta. Yeah, it's gonna be. But the thing is like that at the same time as car enthusiasts, typically don't always buy the new cars right away, right? Like, we kind of like to go back in time. Like, that's why you have a Silvia, right? Like, or like that's why you have a 1M. It's like that was the golden era of BMW, like the greatest BMW ever made, probably.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of weird. Like, we'll be dead by the time Teslas become collector cars, you know what I'm saying? Like, right now we're kind of collecting Supras, like Mark IVs and, this just old JDM, classic stuff. In 30 years, 20 years, we're going to be collecting Teslas, dude. You know how dorky that's going to be?
I just don't see a market for that. I mean, like, the Tesla Roadster, the, first Tesla that they made, that's kind of a collector's car right now. I think
it's so unique,
they sell for like $140K, but like, that's a rare example. They didn't make a whole lot of them.
They're so dog shit too. So I actually saw one in person.
It's just a Lotus Elise with an electric battery.
With like a dog shit electric battery too. It's got like a mile, like a range of like 6. Like, it's I don't know. This is a hot topic for me, as you could tell, but yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
Well, it was interesting because a lot of people wanted to do it because of the tax credit benefit of getting electric.
Which come and
go.
So
I've seen, which has, changed so much. If you want it through Audi, I guess I can just talk to this. It's only in a lease and only on like specific models, but yeah, you can get it only like as a rebate or rolled in from a lease situation. So they're just doing that. That's just from Audi, because I know that a lot of people really wanted electric. That was the incentive to get it. So now they're adding in that rebate for, if you lease, and a lot of people do typically lease them. Actually, is what I've seen. So yeah, the GT, I mean, they look phenomenal. They're really fun to drive too if you haven't gotten your hands on one, but they make a GT and then they make a GT RS, so 3.3 versus 2.9 seconds 0 to 60. So
what's the new one? I haven't seen the new one at all.
Well, the GT RS, yeah. So you can get different carbon fiber, basically the same car, but a little bit more power, more or less. So they look almost identical. It's just there's two different versions versus, I know, like the Taycan, you can add on quite a few things. With Porsche, always you can add on like quite a few bells and whistles, but I mean, comfortability of the Audi is amazing. They actually are co-developed with Porsche.
Yeah, yep. They're on the same platform as
yeah,
the Taycan, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
same windshield. So yeah, they're fun cars, but they make two different versions. One that's a little quicker, and one that's one for I guess people that want electric and want something that looks cool.
Well, it's kind of like a V8 R8.
But
yeah.
But yeah. Totally.
You think you could get us in for a test drive?
I mean, yeah, we do have
try.
one outside if you want. It's on summers. So.
Yeah. Okay. So that's So what's the power on the RS come to?
Well, it's like within the 5.6s range typically. I guess if you're comparing. So I mean, it's about the same within the R8, more or less, like power distribution. Cornering's a little different, and then it's totally different aerodynamics and the way that the whole undershield is, or the underneath of it is designed. It's really cool. And then also just the side splitters and like the whole design of it is just for aerodynamics. So it's designed beautifully.
Super
really cool.
efficient.
Very efficient. And then they're launching a Q8 actually, an e-tron now.
Oh.
So it's going to be a full electric Q8. And range is a little better, we hear, and also the just charging time is going to improve as well. So Audi's really on top of their stuff right now, and they already have a few other SUVs. They have the e-tron S, which is a little bit quicker. It's like 725 foot-pounds of torque in that thing.
That's
so you
gnarly.
put your foot down and you're just gone. So I mean, it's like you don't even hear the person coming. You just put your foot down. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't hear anything happen, but that person's way up there, got gapped. So it's interesting. Electric cars are really pushing out, and you don't really see them too often too. So they're kind of also sleeper cars, but
yeah, I think everybody who goes for electric, I think, is always been like the Tesla. They had the majority market share. They're kind of like the face of electric cars. And now you're seeing all these other car brands coming in with their own, like the Mustang Mach-E and, the Taycan. You got all these new models coming out, and people are now like, which one do I pick and choose? I think still people are kind of going to Tesla because they're like, that's the bread and butter.
They're the OGs.
Yeah, exactly. But I think also with the abysmal customer reviews on them, I think they have probably like one of the worst like ratings.
They're like the Comcast of the car world.
Like 50% of people have complaints like after owning them.
There's been a lot of stuff happening with Tesla recently. Their MSRPs on a lot of their vehicles dropped. If you heard about that.
Yeah.
So
that tweet from Elon.
Just a lot happening with Tesla. So I think, I mean, it's hard to say where they're kind of going, I think, at this point. But
but
I just know that
you're seeing a lot of these other brands who make quality cars, and they're going to make quality electric cars.
Right. So they're catching up, and there's, I mean, a huge push towards electric. If you went to the auto show, I mean, pretty much almost every company or manufacturer had their own electric vehicle now at this point. So I mean, when I was at Toyota, like almost every single vehicle you could get as a hybrid, and then they launched the hybrid Tundra, which was really cool. But huge push towards electric EVs and whatnot. I mean, as car enthusiasts, it's a little different, but I know we still love our classic cars, so
I don't hate it. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for the tech aspect of it, and I think ultimately, because like we've got like ICEs are still getting better, and then the electric part's getting way better. Like every year, somebody has like a crazy new development. So that's kind of why I'm like, let's meet in the middle. But yeah, no, it's freaking wild, man. I think the one worry that I have about electric that I've kind of heard from Teslas, especially people that like autocrossed it like a couple of years ago and just racing it, is overheating, because you can only rip on those cars for so long before they just start overheating. So it's like, makes sense.
Yeah, Audi. So where I'm at, they basically take out the individual cell packs, and I've seen a battery dropped out, so it's the completely underneath of it, and they drop it out of there, and they'll actually replace the individual cell packs, which is great for just timing, so that you can get your car back if something does need to be replaced, but just efficient way to maintenance a car. I mean, it's pretty much it, just huge battery underneath. So it's interesting to see. I mean, just the literal frame and then a battery. So
that's super cool. Like they, because I remember reading about that like a year or two ago. Like they're trying to get better at servicing, and like you just plug and play different parts of it, like you said, a cell
Yeah.
pack. That's
Yeah.
really cool, actually.
Hook it up to a computer and see which cell packs need to be replaced. And it's not the whole battery that needs to be replaced. It's just the individual cell pack. So
Which is so different from like 10 or 15 years ago. Like I was even thinking about buying Terry's Prius once upon a time to get as a daily because I was like, oh yeah, dude. First of all, Priuses are fucking amazing. I don't care what you have to say about that, Sean. They're the best daily ever. I thought about it. So anyways, it would have been like $6,000. But then like the thing is, the battery goes wrong or horrible. It's like super expensive on those older cars. But now you're saying like, oh yeah, it's just like plug and play a cell pack, done. It's not a $10,000 fix.
here's how many Priuses I've pushed out of snow before? Probably 2 to 3 in my lifetime. So I will refuse to get a
I'll
Prius.
be the fourth.
Okay.
I'll do it. I don't care. The new one looks kind of interesting too. Like, didn't expect that. It's interesting.
It doesn't matter. You can put a lipstick on a pig. It doesn't make it any pretty. It doesn't make it not a pig. It's still a Prius. It doesn't matter how you look at it. It's always going to be a Prius.
Listen, Sean, the world needs ugly people. How would you know who's pretty then? I'm just saying, you need some ugly and slow cars that just stink. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. But, because like a Ferrari wouldn't be a Ferrari if you didn't see just some, sucky S4 on the highway or something. Yeah. So, I don't know. Just my ideology, but.
I mean, I just love seeing different people mod out their cars in a certain way. Like,
Yeah.
I love riced out cars, honestly. I just, I see them, I'm like, wow, that's cool. Versus cars that you see that are just built from factory and you pick it up and, you can just buy it. I mean, I like seeing, like, what's under people's hoods and see what they modified on the car because it's different. You can engine swap and do all that. So, I mean, with electric, maybe not something that you can do. So that's kind of the unique part of being able to modify your own car and change it to how you want, get some different rims, and then change the engine out or whatever.
Yeah, that's the sad part about electrics, because like there's only so much you can modify. Like it's like, all right, suspension, wheels,
Engine swap.
yeah, yeah, exactly, some sort of interior. Speaking of like engine swaps for whatever, because like you were at that event and you saw the SF90. I think Joby brought his out there, but it's crazy like how low that engine sits in that car. Did you see that at all when you were out there or no?
Possibly, maybe.
Like you have to literally like bend your neck over to see where the engine is because it's just so deep in there. It's just wild. But yeah, man, I've really grown to like Ferraris a lot in the last few years. I've always been a Lambo kid. I don't know about you, but that's just kind of where. Oh yeah, there's a nice topic for you. Do you like Lambos or Ferraris more?
Oh my gosh, you're gonna question me on what I think. I don't know. I mean, I like cars that you don't really see often. So I mean, when you see a Lambo or a Ferrari, I mean, they're both exotic cars. I lean probably towards Ferrari, I guess, a little more, but I mean, I'd rather have a modded out, older S14 or something,
Right.
just quite honestly, because that's just where I grew up with, and what I like is just a car that I can change, a car that I can mod out, and that's still a nice car. But I don't know. As far as exotics, I really like McLarens, actually.
I can see that.
Yeah, Lotus, actually, I mean, that's just not really like a exotic, but
They've stepped their game up.
I think they look pretty good. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really like a diehard fan. I mean, it's kind of funny because I where I work, I see like GT3 RSs, GT4s that are brand new that go to our same detail shop. So I see cool cars coming off trucks like almost every day. I see new Ferraris get unloaded. So once you're around them for so long, it's
You get
just
numb to the
weird.
feeling.
You get numb to it. It's kind of weird because it's like I used to love cars and I used to freak out over them. My mom used to like send me videos of like Supras and stuff, and now it's like, okay, there's another one. But that's why I think it's unique to see people with their own builds, and to see what people have done to their cars, because that is unique and it's not something that you see all the time. Is there's a different engine and in that car. So yeah. Everyone keeps telling me to LS swap it, and I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
That's just been done to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, when me and Sean were in Texas, when we went to the 1320 meet, we couldn't like believe it. Like we're just like, we came back to Minnesota and we're like, this fucking sucks. Like, because there's so much uniqueness out there. Because like, think about it, how many people are out there too. And everybody, like, granted, every 18-year-old must get welds when they turn 18. But there was so many like cool like project cars out there, just different stuff. Like just, it's wild to see. Like you just weren't used to it. But at a certain point, I feel like the Texas people probably get used to it too. They're like, oh yeah, there's Billy with the whatever the fuck again, so that's kind of downside. But at the same time, like if you, like I always like think like people who have 20 or 30 cars, like they got to get used to it, right? But if you think about it, if you have 30 cars, you drive a different one on every single day. Like it's just kind of like that constantly changing experience.
I went to Arizona like a month ago or something, and the car scene out there totally different than here. I mean, they don't.
It's wild.
Yeah, have to deal with any of the snow or anything. But rented a Porsche, took it around some mountains like right outside the border, like between like Arizona and then California. It was super fun. But their cars and coffee down there, insane. I mean, you just see just these high end like Bugattis and Lambos and people that can have those cars out there, and it's just totally different car scene. Everyone has custom plates out there too, which is cool, and everyone drives like totally different than they do here. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to see different places, but the other thing is you kind of think of, are these people numb to this feeling too, because of the fact that they see, these nicer cars out here all the time. So, I mean, being in Minnesota, maybe you don't see the kind of cars that you typically would out there. So a little different, but super fun.
It's weird, like, 'cause especially like you've known me as well. Like I've seen so many crazy cars over the years and shot so many cars, but like, I don't get numb to it anymore. I get excited. Like for example, like when the snow started melting or whatever, like 2-3 weeks ago, and I started seeing like C5 Corvettes and like 5.0 Mustangs. I'm like, oh, that's one of our people out there. Like I don't know. I'm just a dork about it, I guess. Like, because I caught myself getting numb to it. I'm like, oh, another Lambo. But then I was like, I kind of remembered like my first like time seeing a Lambo, right? It was like on the street, and this was like when I was like 13 or 14, and just blew past us. It was a green one, and the memory's like so hazy. I can't remember if it was like a Gallardo or a Huracan, but it's like I remember that so vividly. And I was like, up until then, all I've seen is the shit at the car show, which more than half the time is fucking meh. So it's like just kind of weird. Like I don't know. Like I just like to remind myself that there's kids who will never see a Lambo in their life. Ever. And that just kind of blows my mind. So now I'm just like, I force myself to appreciate it, but I don't know. I guess I'm weird in that way.
It's so funny driving the 240 because people that know what it is
they
will
freak
like
out.
Wave and freak out, and they'll start taking pictures of it, or like at car meets they'll want me to rev it, or like they'll all gather around, and it's so weird because it's like it's just a real old Japanese car, but I mean it is cool because everything's in another language. And took it to a Valvoline like a few weeks ago because I needed an oil change. I'm like, I'm not doing this myself. So they took off the original filter and they gave it to me, which is pretty cool. And then they were all like standing around it like, oh my gosh, you can leave it here a little longer. We don't get to see stuff like this.
Right.
So, I mean, people that know what it is, they absolutely love it. And so that's, just the unique part of it is, yeah, it's not a Lamborghini, but people still get really excited over like old JDM cars.
It has the heritage. It's an icon.
Kind of the original drift car, yeah.
Legendary status. It just holds that place in a lot of people's hearts because of, the culture of being around cars, rare finds, video games, stuff like that. Like you grow up like driving these cars and you're just like, you put them on a pedestal, and then when you do see them in real life, you can't help but, want to look at it and like inspect it, like all the fine little details.
That's a good way to stay different too, because like you said, you get numb to seeing stock cars, but I feel like when you see certain builds that only come out a couple times a year, like for example, Jesse with his RWB, people absolutely fucking freak out when he brings that thing out, and that's one car I kind of got numb to because I've seen it enough and I've shot it like once or twice, but it's like at the same time, like, dude, that's a freaking RWB. Same thing like when you see like a crazy built like Silvia. Like there's this one video I remember on Instagram, and Eric always sends it to me whenever he finds it, but it's like an Aventador SVJ leaving, but everybody's watching this Silvia just absolutely fucking rip it out of a meat, and it's like, dude, like,
well, they're just so loud, and I mean they just sound great, and
but it's different too.
Yeah, I mean the way that you mod it out is just totally different. So I guess also another thing that really wanted me to finally like, okay, I need the 240 now. I went out to rent JDM over in Vegas when they were still open.
Yep.
And I saw like their 4-door sleeper like Skyline, and like RB swapped, like R33 trans, like custom exhaust and everything, and like I got to ride in it, and it was like a 700 and some horse,
in such a light car
that just sounded, it just ripped through the tunnels, and it's like you're like waving out the window, and it looks like a sleeper. And it was like Millennium Jade Green with like some Volks on it, and it looked great, and that like really just like sparked my love, and I was like, I need it now, kind of a thing. So I found it and got it, and yeah, I still have a lot to work to put into it, but I don't don't have time for it, and it's like, just work all the time, and I have
Yeah.
2 cars now that I gotta do stuff with. So yeah, no, it's been fun seeing a lot of other JDMs out there. I think that's what I love the most, really, and what I freak out about, I guess, when I see it. So
A project car's never done too, though, right?
it's never done.
It
It's always
can
stuff
be,
you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like there's always something different, and it's like, and even then, like if you are quote unquote done, you'll always be like, well, I kind of want to try new wheels out, or I want to get a new wrap, or whatever, Okay, here's a question for you. Where do you stand on like custom builds, right? Like, do you prefer quality or like, cause like rep wheels versus real wheels, for example, right? Like, are you the type of person that always gets real wheels, or will you consider something like reps?
Probably more the real thing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Volks or work wheels, I guess, for if I were to do something on the 240. And I mean, there's certain people that are within like a JDM community that absolutely like hardcore will go towards like a certain brand, or like Renown steering wheel or whatever it is, Mamo. There's certain brands that people like and certain brands that people don't like. But I mean, if it's your own build, like you get to make it what you want. But at the same time, I want to keep the car classic. I don't want to turn it into like a drift missile. I want it to be clean. So I want to keep the original emblems and everything on it. I mean, change out the rims, yeah, but I'm not going to go to like some aftermarket wheel on that thing because I want it to be clean. And not to look like everyone else's build, but, maybe change the color on it, but still have it look, not like a bright, like, yellow or anything like that. Still like a classic, like, color that people
So you kind of want it to be reflective of the era. You want to kind of do time correct modifications. Back in the 90s they would have thrown certain wheels, steering wheels, all these engine modifications, nothing like today, like throwing HREs or big like wide body kits on them. I mean, like, I know they were doing like wide bodies,
I am a fan of wide body kits, and I want a 326 wing on the back. That'd be really nice. But I'm a simp for like big wings on the back of like riced out like JDM cars. But for me and the 240, I want to keep it clean. I don't want to drill holes in the and put that on because I feel like it just kind of ruin it, and people would look at me like, oh, what the heck, why would you ruin that car? So I mean, yeah, if I were gonna do that, I'd probably just get a KA 240 and just do it with that if I was gonna drift it. But for the car that I have currently, I mean, it holds value if you keep it classic, so that's the plan with it.
That makes sense. I'm the complete opposite. I'm just loud and annoying. Like, make it fucking yellow. Let's go for it, But at the same time, like, again, having shot so many cars, like, there's something to be said for, like, that classic clean look. It just looks right, So, yeah, I'm excited where you're going with that.
Well, I love loud cars. I mean, my car has absolutely no exhaust, no cats, no nothing. So that thing is
not by choice.
Not by choice, but I kind of like it. I mean, I say built-in massage seats now at this point because I mean the muffler and everything, like literally the whole car shakes and it's like louder than heck. And yeah, I mean, people will definitely look at it because they're like, damn, that car's loud. And then they're like, what the heck even is that? And they look at it and it's just a black thing that looks like a Camry. I mean, it says Nissan on it, so it's like, what the heck is that thing? But yeah, it's just kind of funny. Kind of funny to see people's reactions of it too, because it's like, oh, where's the driver? And it's like, there's someone in the passenger seat, we're sticking their feet out the window and people are freaking out, and I've had
like,
kids
oh my God,
just like, oh my God, Mom, look at that. So
yeah, that's freaking wild. So what's next for you then? So I mean, not necessarily like car wise, but also like the next, like, what's the next 1 to like 2-3 years in the car community look like for you, whether that's car wise, group wise, whatever?
Yeah, so I want to grow my group. I have it's grown since I've started it, and people have really came together. People in the group chat, talking and everything. But this summer, want to do more MGM meets, Minnesota Girls Modified meets, meetups, cruises, things like that. I want to work to do like a BYOP event. So bring your own parts. Let's work together. Okay. Let's do this. Oil change, whatever your car needs, and kind of my knowledge and working on cars for the past however many years. I mean, I can do basic stuff. So, I mean, yeah, let's get together and let's do it. And let's, do it together and have a fun time, throw on some music, order pizza, whatever it is, and try to promote women getting into automotive industry because that's a great thing to do, but then also just the community of it. And then I want to work with different, like talk to my GM. Hey, can we do some sort of like an Audi event or something like that for the girls, and maybe bring them down and like show them what's like here, or like Ferrari, or like let's start to do more big things with women getting into automotive, and like start to grow that, and do different events that are just fun. And yeah, that's kind of the plan. And then it's been fun with Audi. I mean, they sometimes send me over to different training facilities. I went to Chicago last year for like a EV training thing, and different training events that they have, different launch events. We did like a mini rally, basically took out Audis, went on like a little cruise. So they do fun things like that for me, which is a lot of fun. And that'll grow. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, is just wanting to grow that group and see where it goes, and just to do a good thing of, bringing people together.
So how'd you get into sales at Audi?
Well, I worked for Toyota for a while. I was a marketing communications major, and then graduated right during COVID from the U. After that point, ended up working for sales for a while over at Toyota. Started training, doing different things with them. They wanted me to start working in their marketing department, and then I decided to go to Audi because I got a job opportunity there. And then at the same time, I also got a job opportunity for a different marketing company, so I had to pick what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And it was hard, but I chose Audi because, I love the brand, and I love Audi as a brand. I have the S4 currently, and I just love that car. So it's fun being able to talk to people, being able to talk about something you're passionate about, and yeah, that's ultimately it. Getting to meet people that also have cool cars that you work with, and also being in that network. Carousel's an amazing company to work for, so I'm happy to be there. And yeah, it's been a kind of a whole wild ride in automotive, because I used to not know anyone in the car community, so it's crazy now that
it's exploded for you.
Yeah, so much. So yeah,
it's pretty exciting. Damn it, I had one more question that I lost. I don't know, I can't remember. But weren't you, I think I remember when we were first talking or whatever, weren't you planning on starting some sort of business at some point too? Or I can't remember.
We'll see. Yeah, I have a lot of small things that I'm trying to do currently. But working where I'm currently at, it's always hard to find the time to do it. But yeah, for sure. I'm trying to do lots of different things. I wanted to turn MGM into a nonprofit organization at one point, and that was kind of a goal of mine too. But just trying to create awareness and starting to do just more cruises and things like that, and just to build it, and working with different companies to just promote events would be fun, and then eventually maybe down the line to start doing things like that. I know Snap-on does a few events for promoting women in automotive and things like that, but it's still interesting, because we don't have a single woman technician at Audi currently. They have an all guys locker room. No women that work back there as a tech. So it's interesting, because it's, even when I was at Toyota, there was maybe one tech back there that was a girl. So yeah, it's different, because women are still in, they're into it, but they work in certain areas. A lot of women in sales, actually. They're super big. Like almost all of us over in sales right now are women, actually. But yeah, it's just trying to create, I guess, opportunity for that would be my main goal at this point.
I think that's pretty spot on. Like right now, especially, is like the best time to get into it, because like there's so many resources out there, and there's so much like think about like how many trends are on like TikTok and Instagram, and that's kind of like where I feel like people start to learn. Like, say whatever you want about social media sucking. I know a lot of people do, but like there's so much like knowledge and growth out there. Like for example, like I have a coworker. She is like a young, like a 17-year-old girl who's trying to get into that. Like she's doing everything she can to try to get certifications and stuff, because that's what she's passionate about. So it's like I love seeing that more and more in the community, just for like younger kids in general. Because like when you think about, I'm the youngest person at this table, I think, but it's like when I was like in high school, like you had to kind of look a little harder than you do nowadays. But now it's like you just scroll down your feed, and it's like, that's cool, I want to get into that. So I don't know, it's really awesome.
Yeah, there's just a lot of different things around women being in automotive, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was first trying to figure out where the cruises were, and, you know, I went to a DCC meet, the very first experience that I had was getting out of my car and someone asking me, like, what's modified on my car. And that's right when I got it. Hey, what'd you do to your car? Is it static? Is it bagged? And looking at it, like, critiquing it and saying, oh, well, I'll just get my fix of an automatic while I still can, and then, like, walks away. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, you're just not feeling, like, welcomed there. And I guess that's just like the biggest thing of like why I wanted to do an all girls car group, so that we could like support each other in it. Even if I'm part of a few like online chat groups, and it's like if I have a question about like, so my blinkers on the 240 didn't work when I first got it, my hazards wouldn't turn on, and I tried everything, posted in a chat. I was like, hey, in like a 240 community, who can help me with my blinkers? Oh, maybe you should try blinker fluid. You know,
right,
just
yeah.
stuff like that. It's, you know, you want to have a group where people support you and like will actually help you, not like put you down when you're into cars, you know. And I think that's just part of the biggest thing of why I want to do it too, is just to like have a safety net of, hey, we're here for you, want to help you through it. So yeah,
I think that's a good point, actually, and that's something that I've heard from other people in the past too, is that there is kind of like a threshold that you have to get past, like a ceiling or whatever. But like a lot of people are just kind of dorks about it in the community. Like you said, that guy coming up like, oh, what's wrong with it? Or like I've heard from other chicks be like, oh, is that your boyfriend's car or whatever? And it's like, if I were to pull up with like that's Silvia, I'd be like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever, right? Like, oh my God. But like, do you come across that like a lot still?
a lot of people come up to me and they interrogate me. Hey, do you know what you're talking about?
Yeah.
You know, people that own shops, hey, like, do you know anything about JDM cars? Do you know what kind of car this is? Oh, this is your car? If I'm hanging out with a group of guys, oh, that's her car? So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Even when I was working at Toyota, it was like I was one of the only female salespeople there, and it was some guy refused to not work with me because he said I don't know what I'm talking about. And my dad is an electrician. I used to do a lot of like soldering, put my own radios in. So I mean, like wired up my own radar detector. Like I know my stuff. And this guy wanted to put in an aftermarket like wiring harness, and we don't do that. And like he said, go back there and tell me, like find me someone that knows what they're talking about. So I went over to service and I said, hey, this guy wants to put an aftermarket, harness back there. And I showed him, I'm like, hey, so here's the ground wire, here's the power wire, here's where you connect it in. Cause like I knew how to do it. Like I could just explain it to him, but he didn't want to believe me because of the fact that, whatever. But yeah, I mean, you get people like that, but I just kind of push it off. It's whatever. So, I mean, that's the reason kind of why I like loved getting into car stuff, and I did it all on my own, and I didn't care if it was raining. I don't care if my tools are going down the drains and, I'm outside at 2 a.m. because I used to pull like long hours working on my car outside, and I didn't have another car to get around in. So I was Ubering and I was trying to put coilovers in myself, not knowing what the heck I was doing, but I made it happen, and I did it on my own, which was great. So he just do a lot of independence. So it's fun. And I love it, every second of it.
I think it's a solid story too, like, because that's the thing is like a lot of people get into cars just because it's a trend sometimes, but like you have a genuine passion for it that's like really cool to see because you've been doing it for fucking ever. So it's like you just kind of you've earned that rite of passage or whatever, right?
Sure.
Like
well, yeah, my dad was the type of person that was, okay, we're gonna take this alternator apart and put it back together. Like I'm gonna teach you how to like, put some grease zerks in your ball joints, which is like a real old way of like doing things. So me, I tell the techs, they always like goof with me over how much dumb stuff I've done on my car, but I literally tapped grease zerks to like grease up my ball joints on my control arms, and they're like, what the heck are you doing? Like you don't need to do that. Why wouldn't you just buy new ones or something? Like, no. But my dad's so old school that I would be doing so much work that I didn't have to do. And I mean, I know how to do it, and people like laugh at me for it, but it's just, that's the way that I guess I grew up in doing it ever since kind of high school time of like, you gotta fix your car. Alternator's going out again. Okay, grounding issues in the Ford Focus. You gotta put a new one in. So I just had a warranty on it every year. I just put a new alternator in, and I got really good at doing it. So
I can't wait until you're like 60 or 70 and then you're just pulling up to like meets with all these dorks and like the Tesla 5000 or whatever and just pulling up, be like, oh my God, there's that cool ass grandma. Like,
oh my gosh, no,
you're gonna be like the wise one day, so that's gonna be pretty sweet. I don't know, I'm kind of running out of things here. Sean, anything you want to chime in with before we wrap it up here for today?
Man, I don't know. The only other questions that I think we have is if you could pick 3 cars for a daily, track and show car, what would they be?
Well, for a drift car, I'd want like actual built 240 that I could use as like a drift car. That'd be amazing for, I guess, a track car. Because, I mean, I just love drifting. I think it's super cool, and I want to get into it and love that. So that'd be one. I guess if I had an exotic car, I don't know, a McLaren or something, probably.
Wasn't it? No, it was track car, show car, and what was the other thing? Daily.
Well, exotic could be a show car.
So that would be your
That
show
would be
car
my
then.
show
Okay,
car,
gotcha.
I guess. And daily.
Well, what kind of McLaren?
Actually, let's change that. I'd probably, stick with an S4 just because I love the S4. I think it's a great car. Or something Audi. An RSQ8 would be kind of cool, I guess, if I needed a daily. Honestly, I don't know if I need that big of a car, but
Not the
they're
RS6?
amazing. They sound great. I don't really know about the wagons. I mean, they're all right.
Not a fan of the wagons.
I mean, they look good, but I can't see myself driving one. I guess I'm either an SUV or like a sedan type of person. I mean, I could rock like an RS7 or something. I think that'd be fun. Or I don't know. I mean, I'm just a diehard Audi fan and then a JDM fan. I think it'd be cool to have a Supra.
That's
Like a newer
Supra?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. So okay, so we got the kind of like the RSQ8, like R7 for the daily. The track car would be like a Silvia, and then would you said McLaren for your show car?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
I'm
you,
so
you said the
indecisive.
S4.
Wait, is that gonna be the show car?
Sure, a modded out S4. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm so indecisive when it comes to cars.
Yeah, that's
honestly,
valid.
I mean, I see so many cars around that I'm just like, no, I take that back. If I had a show car, it'd be like a Porsche GT 3RS or something.
This is such like a squirrel moment. It's like, oh, I want that. I want that. I love it though.
Well, yeah, I need to have a 10-car garage before I can start, thinking about what other cars that I need at this point. But yeah, no, next car, I'm going to have black with custom red stitch interior. It's going to be nice. My current car is black. And I was so indecisive on what color exterior I wanted. But I just went with black again because once you go black, you don't go back. I guess you just continue to go with one color and you just kind of fall in love with it. So same with Audi. I just fell in love with the brand and I can't really go to another option at this point. So we'll see though for the future. I don't know.
I like it. You have a diverse taste though. Like even though you love Audi, like you're not a hater on everything else. So
I respect everyone's builds. I mean, I respect.
I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, I love I love exotics. I love kind of everything. But I mean, I don't like see an exotic car and freak out about it as much, I guess, as other people would, because I'm more tailored towards Euro and like cars that you can modify, I guess, just because it's more fun that way.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. All right, well, cool. Let's wrap this sumbitch up then. Where can people find you and your group and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so we're at Minnesota Girls Modified on Facebook. I have an Instagram page as well. And then sometimes post like TikTok videos of some of the group stuff as well. But yeah, at Minnesota Girls Modified. If you, most of the people that probably listen to this are guys. So I guess if your girl wants to join the group, tell her to come through. And yeah, shoot me a DM or something.
Cool. And then anybody, do you really post on your personal at all or not really?
Do not use social media. Yeah. I mean, there's so many people out there in the car community that use social media stuff, and I really just, like to be anonymous. I really, this probably people don't know me. That's what I said, kind of because I don't go to a lot of meets. I really don't, and I'm kind of, just under the radar when it comes to stuff like that. So, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram, but, it's not about that. I mean, I just love, people don't even know that I have a 240 because I don't post it at all. So, I mean, it's kind of anonymous,
just
and I
low
like
key.
it that way. Low key. It's my car. I don't care what other people think about it and what other people have to say about my build or what I drive. And it's not for like a clout thing. It's because that is a car that I genuinely love. So, yeah.
I like it. That's legit. Coming from a genuine place. So it's pretty solid. And then you guys can follow Sean at 1MN Mopar.
Yeah, thank you for shouting me out. You can follow Harris at Monoxide, but you probably already know that if you're listening to his podcast.
I know we're just kind of flipping roles today. I like it. Just having fun with it.
But I had one more question. So where can everybody find you at the delership? Like, can you help them buy a car or?
Yeah, I suppose if you're looking for a car, you can just come in and ask for Emily because I'm the only one there. So
which Audi?
It'd be Audi Minneapolis. That's the current location where I'm at. Yeah.
Well, what if I'm not looking for an Audi? Can you still help me find a vehicle?
Yeah, I mean, so Carousel has BMW, they have Audi Maplewood, Porsche, St. Paul, Porsche, Minneapolis, Ferrari, And then also have like a Coon Rapids cheap Chrysler store too. So pretty big, pretty big company, and I can kind of see inventory as far as all of that goes. So it's fun. I mean, working there, you get to see exotics. You get to, I mean, just the people that you work with there is such a different clientele. It's all about customer service, and it's so different than where I came from. So people know what they want really when they walk in the door. So it's just helping them out. So
yeah, right. So if you're looking for a new car, ask for Emily.
Or used.
Sure. Yeah, both.
Yeah, and then support the podcast by buying cars from her, because she's going to kick back a commission to us now too as well. So
yeah, that's how it's working.
But,
okay.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out Emily and all her fun stuff. And then thanks for listening.
Yeah, peace out, guys.